Hi everybody, and a very warm welcome to my interview series, Conversations That Inspire. I think it's absolutely essential when we're busy working in our offices and in our workspaces that we have an opportunity to connect with other people and actually hear from other experts who are also working in their businesses. And, if we can get that light of inspiration, that idea from a conversation that you've overheard from two people who are talking about business and how they do business, that is entirely the objective of this interview series. So for anybody who hasn't met me before, I'm Rachel Smith, I'm the business grower. I work with female business owners who are working really, really hard in their business, and they're getting quite frustrated with the results, and they're ready to kind of give up the struggle and to start to use some ways in their business that will actually help them to attract clients and money into their business and into their life really easily and effortlessly. So if you want to find out more about me, you can over my website, which is www.thebusinessgrower.com. But we're here today with the lovely Shari Thompson, and we'll be talking to Shari a little bit about her title, which is Marketing with Emotional Intelligence, which I'm really, really excited about understanding that more, because it really kind of lights me up. But let me just tell you a little bit more about Shari. She is an entrepreneur and a marketing fanatic who's a little obsessed with numbers. And I know that from working with Shari. She asks me stuff about numbers and statistics, and it's kind of quite mind-blowing, but absolutely essential when you're marketing as well. She's also a university lecturer and a best-selling author. She's mum to Archie, who's 4, little monkey. And you live out in the sticks now, don't you, Shari?
In the sticks, yeah. So if the internet goes a bit funny, that's why.
So you've been kind of in marketing for a long time, and I know that you're going to actually share your journey, and you're the creator and the business owner of Green Jelly Marketing, and I love that idea as well. So Shari, let's really start to talk about this subject area that you have titled this conversation, which is marketing with emotional intelligence, and it's about how you can market to your lovely audience without feeling icky, without you feeling as if you're getting in the face of them in a really hustly way, but the way that you market is in a really gentle, loving kind of nature, which feels really natural, and that's what we really want in our businesses, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you have got a really, really lovely content to talk to us about, but I would love for you to share in the first instance a little bit more about your journey so far to this point.
Okay. Well, hello everybody, and thank you for having me, Rachel. I guess my marketing journey started at university. So I went and did the traditional thing, did my A-levels, went to university and did a marketing and statistics degree. That's where the number bit comes in. And then I went straight into corporate world and travelled all over the country and worked in I worked in Barcelona for a bit and did the whole corporate thing in marketing and business development. And when I was in my last paid job, having done all of the university things and MBAs and so many different qualifications, I found myself pregnant with Archie, and he was a very unexpected but very much wanted gift, really. And so I was over the moon with that. And then I soon found that my personal situation changed quite a lot. So I found myself single and pregnant and 200 miles away from home. So I moved back to Shrewsbury, out in the sticks, even further out in the sticks now. And I was still travelling backwards and forwards and commuting and doing the whole thing whilst Archie was a baby. And it was really tough because I was leaving him 3 days a week and going 200 miles away. And I've always had this thing that I wanted to have a marketing business. So I was 18 when I decided I would have a marketing business called Green Jelly. So I don't know where the name came from. It could be anything. I was a student, so it was probably jelly vodka shots or something. I don't know. And So I thought it's now or never. If I don't do this, I've never got a better opportunity where I've got absolutely nothing to lose, and I've never got this big why that's going to keep putting me forward. So yeah, I decided when Archie was 4 months old to start Green Jelly marketing. And the way that happened was in a very kind of subtle way, because I couldn't overtly market the business because it would jeopardize my employed position too much. So I had to do it through relationship development and referrals, and I had to, cat's having a fight trying to get out of the cat flap, if you can hear that. So I had to do it through a really gentle way, which served me really well, and actually that's the way that Green Jelly has grown as a business. But in the process, I kind of got in this place where I was massively overwhelmed because everybody's got a system or a process, or there's all this information that we have ready access to that means that you're just bombarded and you don't really know how to start. And through that, do you mind if I let the cat out?
No, help yourself. She'll be back, everybody, don't worry. Shari is an absolute genius at blabbing. In fact, she got me into blabbing. So she's not got stage fright or anything like that. Look, she's back.
She was just pestering, so I thought it was best. Yeah, so I came to this place where, you know, everything was really overwhelming and I didn't know how to move forward. And so I thought that if I couldn't move forward and I know marketing and I know how it works and stuff, then it must be really difficult for people who have started a business because they've got this passion, but they don't know how to grow it and how to reach the right people. And so I created a model which was called the 3 R's, what is called the 3 R's of marketing, which simplifies the whole process and makes it very easy for people to be able to do it with one tool that does 3 things, or 3 things that do the process for you. And we can talk a little bit about that a bit later. So, you know, I used that and grew the business and used it very successfully in my clients' businesses. But what I found was that I was still attracting very male-dominated industries into Green Jelly because my background's largely construction and engineering and manufacturing. And I really felt pulled to work with women who are going through the same journey that I went through. And it's one thing knowing how a business runs, but it's a completely different thing when it's your business. And getting into that is massively overwhelming in itself. So recently I've been working more and more with women in mentoring and training them to be empowered to do their own marketing and to grow their businesses with clarity, serenity and ease. And that's kind of where we are now.
I love that. I love how it's, and this is occurring so often when I interview women, is that we kind of get to a crossroads situation and everything changes. And, you know, everything changed for you. And it was, you know, that kind of brave step of I'm going to actually run the dream that I had when I was 18 and it's going to be now. And, you know, and that it's working and, you know, your business model's changing. You're working with more women in their businesses to help them with their marketing. And it's really lovely to hear those words that you use, like that you use it with ease and serenity. And you just think, well, that's what we want. You know, everything else in life can be a bit of a struggle. We don't want our businesses to struggle.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's your passion, isn't it? So if it becomes a struggle, then you're just dampening your passion. And I think that's really bad, you know, because you've worked so hard and that your big pull in life is to do that. So why make it any harder than it has to be?
Yeah, and I speak to lots of female business owners who are kind of put off really because they've entered into their business because they're passionate about their art or they're passionate about helping other people or whatever their business is. Yet when it comes down to it, they feel that they're absolutely flawed with all of the marketing activities that you need to do. And it takes them away from, you know, it takes them away from their family, it takes them away from doing their passion. And it, you know, if you can share ways that women can do that much more easily and without stepping away from that, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope so. I think, you know, there's so many things that can dishearten you in business, and there's so many things that you have to learn about. I'm still learning about tax. I've got an MBA, but if I know one thing about tax, that's probably it. That's all I know. I've been in business over 4 years and I still haven't got my head around it. And I don't want to. So, I think that there are some things that you have to learn about that are beneficial for your business. And for me, obviously I'm a little bit biased. I think marketing is one of those because you have to bring yourself to your marketing. It's not enough to kind of hide behind a brand and do that anymore. Because having come from a corporate background, it was the norm, wasn't it? To hide behind the brand, and you can't say this and you can't do that. And then I started doing that with Green Jelly as well. And it's only recently that I've stepped out and said, no, I am my brand, and me. And being able to do that in an authentic way requires an element of bravery, but it also, it's the whole journey, isn't it? It's the visibility and that side of it. But it's so rewarding and it's so empowering for you and the people who you're communicating with through your marketing. So I believe that you need to understand how to make that work for you in your business in a way that feels right, because that is what's going to differentiate you and your business from anybody else.
Brilliant. So, marketing's changing quite a lot at the moment, isn't it? There's so much out there in terms of what we could use in our marketing. So what do you think, how is marketing changing?
Well, I think because there's so many more people who have access to the internet, the barriers are becoming lower and lower and lower. It's easier to start a business. But you're also going to get so many other people who are telling you how to do it in their way. And I also see so much hype around, you can get 6 figures in 6 days, and it infuriates me because, business, especially if you want a sustainable business, it takes time and you have to continually work at that consistently. And for me, the biggest shame, I guess, is that when you're seeing messages like 6 figures in 6 weeks or whatever it is, and you think you've got this 6-figure business which is just in your reach, you've just got to follow somebody's system to get there, and then you do it and you do everything they've said, and then you don't get this 6-figure business, I think people get really disheartened, and there's the risk that you will give up on your passion, on your dream, just because of somebody being, I guess in some instances, unethical. Because the reality is that, I can't categorically say nobody's created a 6-figure business in 6 weeks, but I can say that is just such a small percentage of the time that it is the exception and it's not the rule. And if you want a sustainable business, you have to be mentally prepared, financially prepared, resourcefully prepared for the long haul, because it's a marathon at the end of the day. And I think that the way that marketing is changing is that people are recognizing that they're using discernment to understand that it's not necessarily going to be this quick fix. You're not going to have these shiny objects that are going to magically grow your business to the dizzying heights that you have in your mind. And that's where I see marketing moving. I think that it's more about relationships and having those true connections that are meaningful and the basis of a sustainable relationship. And I think that it's also about bringing yourself to your brand and really owning that and having that authenticity. And I know everybody uses the word authenticity, and it's kind of, I feel like it's almost lost its impact a little bit because it's everywhere, but it's never been truer that you need to bring yourself to your brand and develop those relationships in a people-to-people way, rather than focusing on having these systems or focusing on, what other people are doing with the 6-figure businesses in 6 weeks, and understanding that, use their systems, but use the bits that work for you, rather than thinking that's going to be the magic cure-all, I guess. And I think, the way that marketing's changing is that people are understanding that more and more now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the key thing here is that all of those amazing messages, like grow business in 6 weeks to a 6-figure thing, that's somebody else's dream as well. that's not necessarily what we're all in business for. That is somebody's own personal aspirations. And I think we can get swept along with thinking, oh, this is what we have to do, this is the norm. And it's not, because if you really want to run the business in that way, it takes so much energy that actually if you went into business to have that freedom and flexibility, you're not going to achieve that if you're chasing somebody else's dream. So absolutely. I think it's really kind of coming from here, isn't it? It's like, what do I want? Who do I want to work with, and how do I want to work with them?
And I think you would never feel aligned with what you're doing, so it wouldn't feel good. And I'm a big person about feeling. It's got to feel good. So you would never get that feeling that's right. And I think that the key to this is about owning your responsibility to understand where they're coming from, marketing their message, but also to take that responsibility to your own message and be ethical about the fact that you have this huge impact on people's lives and their businesses. And sometimes we don't take that responsibility or own that responsibility with our marketing messages, that we can create this thing where we're disheartening people by setting the bar too high or making these bold claims that can then impact how they then take their business forward, and that has a huge impact on their lives.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, lovely. I think that's going to really resonate with a lot of people who are listening to this conversation. It's that it's fine. It's totally fine if your dreams are, to live on a tropical island and to have a passive income that pays for whatever you need to do. But actually, you just want to have a simple life. It is. You do have that choice. So, what do you think? The biggest challenge is for facing women in business at this moment in time?
The biggest challenge, I believe, is overwhelm.
Okay.
I truly believe it's overwhelm because, like I said, we've got all this access to all these different things, all this information, and I believe that probably we know deep down what we need to do. We've got enough information to do that, but where do you start? Like, how do you actually start to do that? And how do you discern which information is right for you? And how do you create something that works for you and is aligned to your purpose and your values and why you're doing it, And I think that because we're in this overwhelm, we start to lack clarity. We make things more difficult than it needs to be. We feel pressure almost to be on every single marketing channel that there is. So you have to be on Twitter, you have to be on Facebook, you have to be on LinkedIn, you must post to them like 10 times a day. And I think there's so many rules and so many things that we try to adhere to that aside of the information, the actual doing bit becomes massively overwhelming. And how can you actually grow a business if you're just in this place of overwhelm? Because having been there myself, I didn't actually move forward, because you get to a point where you're paralyzed and you procrastinate because you don't have this clarity about how to move forward. And for me, that played out in the fact that I wasn't aligned with the action that I did take. So it didn't feel good. And it just became massively confusing. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we all face with information, with media and technology training us that we should be looking for this kind of instant gratification. And when we don't get there, we get confused. And so we go and try like Twitter, and then it doesn't work there straight away. So then we go and try Periscope, and it doesn't work there straight away. And it's just like we're busy fools in this whole fuzz of overwhelm, essentially.
So it's kind of like be clear about what it is you're doing, who you are, what you stand for, and who you're looking to work with, and have a plan and stick to it and be consistent. And allow the results to come through, and kind of accept it's going to take some time for those results to start coming through.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think we are in this world of like instant gratification. I mean, I was sat in the car with my daughter, and we've been in the car 3 seconds, and she said, "Oh, put some music on, I'm so bored." And she's 5, and I was like, "You're 5? You've sat in the car for 3 seconds."
Yeah.
And I just think that we have a responsibility to keep it real. Otherwise, the next generation are going to come through, and it's going to be a nightmare. They're going to just expect everything straight away.
And they do. And so if you look I mean, even if you take it down to cartoons, so when you're looking at the kids' cartoons, if you look at the cartoons maybe 20, 30 years ago, and it would focus, if you think about the frames per second in a cartoon, because I do a lot with animation, you know, the frames per second were a lot less. So there was less movement.
Yes.
You weren't changing all over the place. But if you look at the cartoons now, there's so many frames per second, it's all over the place. And you can't then have kids watching that all the time and then expect that they're going to be just happy just sitting and being. It's so contradictory.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the big challenge, really, because there is going to be this thing where the next generations are going to just want things faster and faster and faster. And it's about, like you say, the responsibility to ensure that they understand that it doesn't work that way, and life shouldn't be that way, really.
And I think as a business owner, we don't want to be, in 10 years' time, be expected to deliver our businesses really, 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 really fast. Because that is like total burnout, total overwhelm, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not sustainable.
No.
How can you deliver your best work if you're under time pressure to do that? How can you deliver your best work if you're saying, okay, I've got to do? You can't deliver what is right for the person who you're serving, who you're working with. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Okay, so let us talk about your method. You know, let's talk about what is your Flourish marketing method that you spoke about at the beginning.
So the Flourish marketing method is a combination of everything I love about marketing and everything I love about emotional intelligence. Okay, so it combines two theoretical fields. And the reason I created this was because as women, we're very good at emotional intelligence. We're very good at the feeling, but we're very good at the intuition. And so it really felt that there was something missing in marketing, and that it was so structured and systemized that it was just doing the doing, and you didn't really do the feeling. And if it didn't feel right, it doesn't matter, because you've got to do the doing, because you've got to get the 6 figures in 6 weeks. And it doesn't feel right, it doesn't resonate with me at all. And so I created something which allows you to have a system and a process, which is the 3 R's of marketing, but overlay something that makes it bespoke to you, so that it feels authentic and aligned for you, and you have the clarity around everything that you're doing. And then it simplifies it all, so you get the business growth with serenity. And you get all of these things from the model. So the way I looked at it was almost, so I use my fingers a lot when I'm describing this, so you'll see. It's a triangle shape. And to begin with, I felt that the triangle shape was too closely associated with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But when I stepped back and thought about it, I thought, no, this is exactly right, because you do need to go through these processes in this order. So the first level is self-awareness. The second level is social awareness. And the third level, right at the top of the triangle, is leadership. And that's where the 3 R's come in. But actually, the work you've got to do first is understanding yourself. And that's understanding, in the self-awareness area, that's understanding your purpose. It's understanding what is pulling you forward, because as soon as you've got that purpose, that motivates you for the long haul that we're talking about, you know, the long-term business growth. And it also gives you the clarity on what your message is and how you market that. And it's also going to kind of get you in flow. As soon as you find your purpose, you're in flow, because you know what you're doing, you know why you're doing it. The self-awareness bit also looks at things like your values, because your values start to become your checklist that you can use to make sure that opportunities that come your way, or people or partners that come your way, are aligned with your beliefs and your value system. Because we've all had those clients that weren't aligned with our value system, that just feels horrible to work with, and the energy that that creates then impacts everything else that you're doing in your business and how you serve them. So you're not giving them your best energy anyway. So understanding your values at that very foundation level is really powerful. Then it looks at things like understanding who your brand is. And for some people that is a brand, but what I'm encouraging you to do is to think about you as the brand and really owning that. So what is it that you stand for? What is your brand representing? Who are you? You know, and just having that conversation with yourself. And then the biggest part, I think, of the self-awareness bit is to understand what your preference is in terms of marketing, and then using your preference to really push your marketing forward. So is it that your preference is in videos or writing or images or audio podcasts and those kind of things? And then you really use that preference to grow the whole of your marketing message. Because the most successful entrepreneurs have used one content delivery, one preference, and use that really well throughout all of their marketing. And they attribute that largely to their success because they become known on that platform. And so when you understand that, you can be brave and eradicate the rest of the stuff that doesn't serve you. And this is the biggest challenge for people, because you're taught when you're going through any other system or process that you should be blogging once a week and you should be on Twitter 5 times a day and you should be on LinkedIn. And what I'm saying is find your preference, and if it's not writing, yeah, do your blogs, but do a video blog. You know, don't think that you've got to write it all out every week. And then you start to get aligned with what your message is and how you're delivering it. And what you can also do is think about your preference in terms of your platform. So if Twitter has never brought you any business, but you're still doing it 5 times a day because everyone knows that you should be doing it 5 times a day, or whatever it is, if it doesn't work for you, if it doesn't feel good, just ditch it. Like, literally get rid of it, because it's never going to serve you and you're never going to fall in love with it. And do work on the platforms that you can work on and you can really get into and you can make a difference with your marketing on. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I would urge anyone to do, is to be brave and ditch anything that's not working for them. But you've got to be realistic about what's working as well as what feels good. So the next level is social awareness. And this is where we start to think about how we can be authentic in our message. And this is the thing we were talking about a little bit earlier, about how you can own your responsibility about what your message is. And your social awareness will also look at who your target market is, your ideal client, so you can get to know them intimately and understand how you can serve them. And there's a lot in this self-awareness bit, which I won't go into too much detail, social awareness bit, that I won't go too much into now, because my message is about not overwhelming people, so I don't want to go into that. But the one thing that I will say about the social awareness is about understanding that marketing is not only about promotion. So think about how you can innovate your products, how you can develop people relationships that are beneficial to your business. And it's that kind of area as well. But the one thing I will leave you with for social awareness is the ABC checklist. And this is to make sure that everything that you communicate out, whether it's on a video, a Facebook post, a blog post, an email, everything you communicate out matches you can tick off the ABC checklist. So the A is adding value. So anything that you're giving, add value for the people who are receiving it. The B is to be you. It's really important to be you. If you're not you and people get to work with you or meet you or anything, they have an expectation of who you are, and whether you exceed it or fall short of it, it makes no difference, because you've ruined that expectation and people still get disappointed. Even if you've exceeded it, they still have that disappointment, because to them you've ruined the know, like and trust period that you've gone through, and you've just destroyed it all. So it's really important to be you. And then the third checklist in the ABC is C, which is to care. If you genuinely care about what you're doing and the result that it has, or the impact it has on the people you're talking to, then that is really powerful, and that comes across in your message all the time.
I love that.
And then, sorry.
I love that, yeah. ABC, I think we can all remember that. It's kind of add value, be you, and care. I mean, that's great, isn't it?
And if you can't tick them all off, then just reframe it a little bit. Because that's how you build, this is how you get the true connections with people and the long-lasting relationships. Because ultimately you want people to want to, if you've got your avatar for your ideal client and your brand, well, that bit's you,
Yeah.
You want them to want to marry you, essentially, because you want them to want to spend time with you and grow with you and have this long-term relationship with you. So you need to have that process in place. And then the last element of the Flourish marketing method is leadership. So you work through this, you go through your self-awareness, then your social awareness. You get to the top and you have done all the bits that make it about you, that make it feel good for you, that make it bespoke to you. And then you need a system to overlay all that stuff over. So this is where we come to the 3 R's of marketing. And the 3 R's are to reach your audience. That's where you get your leads and your prospects into your business. It's to relationship develop, which is how you get your sales or conversions. And then it's to reputation manage. And that's the bit that a lot of people forget. But ultimately, if you've done all this work and built the relationships, you want these people to be your raving fans. And they're going to grow your business for you. And if you have these in the right kind of process-driven way, you are having this exponential growth that goes through all of the 3 R's. So I don't know if you want me to go into more detail about the 3 R's. I'm concerned that I'm overwhelming people with all my information. And that's not what I want to do. So I will be led by you, Rachel, if you want me to.
I think if you can touch on the 3 R's, just expand on what you've shared there, Sharon, that would be really, really valuable.
No problem. So if I give you some examples about how the 3 R's work rather than telling you what they are. If you decide, you go through the process and you decide that your preference is to use video, that's a really good tool to do all of these 3 R's, by the way. So for instance, you do a video which tells people about what your message is. And then you put it on YouTube, which is the 2nd largest search engine anywhere, and you reach people through your video. And you're also relationship developing at the same time, so it's win-win, because you get an instant no about this is terrible English, an instant kind of feel about whether you like the person, what they're sharing with you, whether you can resonate with them, and that's your relationship development done. And so you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, really.
Yeah.
So at the end of the video, if you encourage them to do a call to action, so it might be to reach out to you and have a conversation, you might do a free strategy call, you might, you know, there's lots of different things you can do depending on what you're promoting. You've done the relationship bit, and then the reputation bit is about how you can have testimonials from people on a video testimonial. Or just like we're doing, Rachel, this is kind of reputation management as well, because we're associating with people who have similar values and messages to us, and then you use a video to get that out there, and that manages your reputation for you as well. So it's about being creative about how you use the tools that you decide are your preferences. Another good one for video is maybe somebody who's worked with you. You can do a question and answer kind of case study interview. And then you put all this onto a space, so we'll say YouTube for now, because I don't believe you should complicate marketing. You don't need to know how to do it all on your website and all this stuff. You just put it in one place and it'll do the same job essentially. And you've got the 3 R's covered with one tool, one platform.
Yeah, I love that.
It really is that simple. And if you took different tools, so for instance, if your preference was writing, you do a blog post on your website, you've optimized it so people can find it in search engines. They come to your website, they get a sense of the relationship that they can have with you, but you encourage them to develop that relationship further with a free checklist or something. They enter their email address and you continue the relationship development with them through emails that are all written, and you're nurturing that relationship, and then you invite them to take an action, whether that's to buy from you, to reach out to you and develop that relationship further. You have to do it in a way that feels good for you. If it feels too pushy for you to do it in a shortened way, then it will probably feel too pushy for the people who are receiving it. So then you take the writing it to the next stage, and you might want to do a written case study or have a written testimonial, which you put on your website, or maybe a written press release. So there's lots of different ways you can use it in a very simplified way. And if you're really focused on 1 or 2 tools, platforms, you know, with your preference underlying all of it, then you can make a much bigger impact in the world in a more consistent way And then if you would say, I'm going to do Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, and then I'm going to blog once a week, and then I'm going to do email newsletter, and then I'm going to do offline networking, and you can't make consistent value by doing that. You can't consistently grow your business by doing that, because it feels messy for the people receiving it, and you're all over the place, and it's kind of mediocre value that you're adding, and you're also not being you because it's not a channel that's authentic to you and feels good for you. And very often, if you're in that space, you're not actually going to care. So you're not doing any of your checklists through that. And also, who's got the time to do it all like that? I mean, I don't, and I love marketing. I could do it all day, but I don't want to do that. So yeah, that's how the Flourish marketing method works. It's about taking what works best for you and overlaying it over a structure that simplifies it and really makes it feel good.
And I love that, because your earlier message was about the overwhelm. So the method that you've just described there shows how you can run your business really effectively without that overwhelm.
Completely eradicate it.
Yeah, I love it. That is brilliant. It was well worth delving a little bit deeper into that. So what action can what one action can somebody take to just really massively improve their marketing?
So there's so many different ones I could say now, but I'm going to challenge you to be brave. And I'm going to challenge you to really understand what it is that feels good for you in terms of your marketing platform, what it is that your marketing preference is, and anything else that doesn't serve it, to get rid of it. So like we said, if it's Twitter, if Twitter's not your thing, delete your account. If it's Facebook, if that's not your thing, delete it. Because you can't have the temptation to keep going back at it. And also, if you've got all these different marketing assets around that people can find on Google, but you're not actually using, then that's more detrimental to your brand than having it in the first instance. So be brave and use discernment to work out what it is that's right for you and what's not, and get rid of anything that's not working for you. That's
that challenge. So yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Shari, so much. You've shared, in the kind of 40 minutes that we've been together, you've shared so much. So that's been awesome. Thank you very much. So let's just finish today's session off by saying thank you. Really appreciate your time, your expertise coming here. If people wanted to find out more about you and your Flourish system, how can they find out about you and get in touch with you, Shari?
Okay, so there's two things that I would like to share. The first is my website, which is sharithompson.co.uk, and I'll pop it in the message box in a minute. But the other thing that I would like to share is that if anybody wants more information or would like to have a chat to me about the Flourish marketing method and how they can use it in their business, then I'm opening up 5 free half-an-hour sessions if anybody would like to take that, because I understand that there's a lot of information I've just delivered, and sometimes I'm a very visual person, so I find it quite difficult to take it in if there's no visuals, which is why I kind of resort to this. So if anybody would like to delve a little bit deeper into how that applies to their business and how they can make use of it, then they can email me at sharithompson.co.uk, and I'll pop that in the message box as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shari. That's so fabulous. So if you could just pop that in now before we end the recording, that would be absolutely brilliant. And so for anybody who has only come to this interview halfway through, I really encourage you to look back over all of this, because Shari shared a lot at the beginning as well. So Shari's just put in her website there and her email address. So thank you very much, Shari. I'll catch up with you really soon, and thank you to everybody who has joined us live today and who is listening back to the recording. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.